First of all, thank you for coming in the morning. And also I would like to thank you to Rodrigo and Amelia for inviting me for such a nice workshop. And today I show some project which I did. The first one, this project was 2011. I made an installation for European Capital of Culture in Tallinn, which is capital city of Estonia. And the exhibition was about, they request the site-specific installation in some particular nice space inside of Tallinn. And my site was the park where the palace located in the middle, in really center of the city. And there are so beautiful forests in there, and there are like 300 years old beautiful trees. And I decided to make some piece which they can enjoy this beautiful forest. This photo, you can see a little bit here. So I made a 100-meter long pathway to going around in the forest, not on the ground, not only on the ground, it's also going up inside of the forest. This is a little bit more close picture. And so this is a pathway, 100-meter long, and without any columns in that length. And the main structure is this the steel pipe, and also this very thin flat steel plate. This is the detail. So this is a steel pipe, 140 millimeter diameter, and then this is a 5 millimeter thickness of steel plate. So these are main structure, and then, but it's not strong enough for the human's load. So in certain pitch, it's leaning against the trees. So physically, these trees, which is a part of forest, the part of this installation. So in this project, I wanted to make some architecture in forest, and which is we cannot say until where is the architecture and until where is surrounding nature. So this installation cannot be done without these trees. So it's really physically it's the part of the architecture. But still, I wanted to I wanted to make the piece, but still I wanted to call it the forest after I install some architecture on it. So this is a different view. So this pathway is going around in a curved way, and then up to the 5 meter high from the ground. And this is the plum. It's maybe difficult to see, but so there are existing trees in everywhere. So we checked the exact place and also the shape, and we decided to make this round shape of the pathways. So this looks like just a free-form shape, but actually this is really comes from this forest. And of course, each tree has got a different shape and a different size in each part. So we checked all of them and tried to fit this pathway onto this forest. So when we call the forest, we just say forest, but actually in the forest there are so many things happening. There are so many different trees and flowers and insects, and also the ground is not flat, and it's always undulated. But we call it a forest, all of those. That's really diverse, and that's very complicated. And I wanted to make the installation, which is one of those. And I wanted to change this place with the strong architecture. So the exhibition was about 3 months, I think. And in the end of the exhibition, the season, it started like September, so it was the end of summer. And in the end of the exhibition, it became the autumn, and the leaves had colors. And of course, this pathway didn't change at all, but the surrounding changed a lot. So the feeling becomes different. And this is another view from a little bit far away. And this is my first project about the private house for 2 young couples and then 2 very small kids. And this is located surrounding of Tokyo, which is very typical area for residents. So maybe you can see a little bit next to building. This is kind of a very normal the private house. So property is not so big, but not too small, but it's not so big. So I made a 2-story building with 1/2 basement, and each floors I put the gardens inside. So these are just a hole. There's no grasses there, and then even there are 3 stories building, but from each room you can go out directly to the outside. So this is one of the gardens located on first floor. So I put the soils on the ground so they can plant the tree and small flowers or something directly onto the ground. So this is the plan. The plan is quite simple, to just divide it like this, of the rectangular shape. And I just made a different, the floors, like a skipped floor on a section. So each space touched to many spaces next to it. So like this. So this is the photo from kitchen, and it's faced to the gardens, and also this is a small windows to entrance hall. So when the people are in some place, always feels the feeling of the next room and sometimes next room, also the outside of the buildings, but always they feel it's a part of the space. So this is the backside of the house. There are quite big woods next to the property. And this is a photo of the garden in the half basement. So the two kids' room are faced to this garden, so these brothers can share these gardens for their private garden, their private garden. So this is the backside of the house. This is another small gardens. It's faced to a bathroom and also a master bedroom. This is a photo from the other side. So there is a small, very small the library for the father, and then this is the bathroom, and then this way is to the master bedroom. So that's a very small house, but it's a little bit complicated plan, and then always they feel not only inside of the one room, but also they feel a part of the city, I hope. And this is a renovation project in the downtown of Tokyo. Originally, this building was a kind of the factory or something, and there are the 120 square meters big in 2 stories. And the client wanted to have a printing factory on the ground floor, and on the first floor they wanted to have some kind of studio open for the kids to have some workshop. So I made a huge window on the wall like this. This is an existing windows, just small one. And then there are 2 stories building, but I made very big windows. It doesn't relate to the floors. Just made it on the facade. And then there are 3 big windows. One is here, and one is here, and one is other side. And then I removed all interior walls, so it became just one the big room stacking on top of it. So this is the first floor, and then on the ground floor there is a huge printing machine, and that's a factory, and they are printing something. And this floor is a studio for the workshop of the kids. This is a section. It's also hard to see, but from here to there is the windows. I call it windows, but it's kind of the glass walls, and this is elevation. So this is the windows. And because this is very big, something like 5 times 7 meter big or something. So if I use just normal glass, it becomes very thick. And actually, I think the glass is not really transparent. Sometimes it appears really hard wall divide the 2 spaces. So I wanted to use very thin glass, so I made very thin steel frames, and then I divided the size of the one piece of glass, which I can use the only 5 millimeter thickness of glass. So this is a view from the ground floor. This is a big printing machine. So this is the first floor. This is the inside of the building, but at the same time, I wanted to open to the public because their program is the open workshop space for the kids. So I wanted to make the feeling of open to the space. This is another view of facade. And I'll show also a couple of projects, which was competition I finally lost in the end. So it's not going to be happen, but I just put a couple of projects. I don't go so deeply, but I just quickly show. So this is the competition about the complex building of library and kindergarten, which is a little bit strange combination. I planned about this long ring-shaped building, and so this ring on the ground, but sometimes going up and then onto the other part of the ring. So when they are going around the library, they sometimes reach to the ground. And also, they can have some roof terrace. And also, this part is kindergarten, so it's closed by this ring, and then the kids can enjoy this outside of terrace. This is some perspective. And this is another competition about the extension of very small city hall. So this is existing city hall, and then the requirements was to add one office working space, and at the same time, because in Japan there are so many earthquakes, so all the building often didn't fit to current structural building code. So they wanted to make this existing building stronger against the earthquake, and also extension of the one office working space. And I add just a simple one-room extension, and also at the outside plaza. This is the outside plaza. This is completely outside. It looks mesh structures, but no walls and no glasses, so just outside plaza. And this is a diagram of structure. Normally, when make the building stronger, we need some horizontal element against the earthquake load. But often it's annoying. So I put this mesh structure in between the new building and then the existing building, and then this works against the horizontal load. So it's not necessary to put any horizontal element in the existing building. Also, on the new building, they don't need any the blaze or something. So this one doesn't have any functions, just outside plaza. But actually, this is helping to stand these two buildings. So in between, it is hard to see. In between these two buildings, there is the huge plaza with covered by mesh structures. And this is the last one. This was also complex building about museum and library. I have only two images. They asked to make a very open feeling museum and library to the city. The property was located just in front of small stations. So I just simply made a 2-story building which has a very high ceiling height. So each floor has got a 15 meters high, and there is nothing, no interior dividing walls, and then just 2 stories. And when I thought when the ceiling height becomes really extreme, the interior space of the building becomes really different. It's not just a high ceiling interior room. If it's high enough, the interior of building becomes a part of a kind of the outside feeling, I thought. Those are really close to the wind, but I couldn't. And this project was Architecture Biennale in Venice in 2010. We collaborate with a climate engineer from Germany. They called Transolar. And then we made the installation of cloud. So the venue was quite big, 800 square meters floor area and 7.2 meter high ceiling place. So we planned the cloud float in the middle of the room, and there is 3 meters clear space at the bottom, and 1.5 meter thickness of cloud, and then another 1.2 meter above of the cloud. And the way of making cloud is actually simple. It's difficult, but the system is quite simple. We heat up the top part until 37 degrees about, and in the bottom there's 18 degrees. So there's like a 20 degrees difference in between top and bottom. And in the middle, we just put the paper a lot, and then make it more than 100% of humidity. Then the cloud appears this middle layer, and then they cannot go up and down, so it stays in the middle. So this is the photo of cloud, one of the very good moment, because cloud is floating in the air. So when many people comes, the air moves a lot, and then cloud becomes a little bit blur. But when people left, the cloud becomes more the clear divisions in between. So it's always changing the shape and the colors and density also. And when even there are no people, air moves slowly, so cloud also moves really slowly and then change shape and colors, and then it becomes blur, or sometimes sunny and sometimes cloudy. It's really like a creatures. And this is a really dense, cloudy time. When the cloud is really dense, it's very difficult to see. Even the 1 meter above ahead I cannot see. There is the guy going down to the ground. And when we did this installation, I realized the forest is also similar. Cloud is, we all just called it cloud, but cloud is always different, never becomes same. The color, density, and shape, and everything is different in time by time. So that's very complicated and very dense, very diverse. And I thought when we make architecture, we often try to make it simple, but at the same time, I thought if it's if they have more information and then becomes really diverse, that's also very much abstract and very pure and simple, I thought. This is a little bit sunny time. We can see the ceiling. And after that, we were again invited by Modern Art Museum of Tokyo. And this time venue was outside Sunken Garden, just inside of the building, inside of the museum. So we decided to make a small transparent box and then put a cloud in. So this is an interior view without cloud. So this is about 6 meter cube, 6 meter, 6 meter, and 6 meter high. And we used this steel column. Normally, this column is used for scaffolding. So this has only 47 millimeters diameter. And we made 6 meter high the building. And actually it's quite difficult to see, but there is some tension element of 9 millimeter the steel pipe, steel rod. But when the cloud fill in this building, it disappears and then becomes one transparent cube. And this is a project about our private house for two young couple and then very, very small two kids. And the site is in the kind of suburban of some quite big city in Japan. And so this house has a little bit strange shape with some boxes. And interior also has exactly same shape of the outside. So there is no division wall inside, and the envelope is just the divide outside and inside. So this is a plan. basically it's a kind of two stories building, and this is a section. So because there is no division wall, so when I cut the section in any place, it becomes just one line, and then there are so many different places in the one strange-shaped big one room. So this is interior view. This is entrance in the living room, and this is dining and the kitchen. And when they go up the stairs, there's two kids' room and one bathroom in the end. And then there are many terraces and gardens in between. This is the view from the terrace in the higher part. Because of the shape is strange, so even though this is one big room, but there are some intimate space in everywhere. It's not really closed because no wall divided, but they can find some private places, and also always they can feel entire the house, and then the people's feeling. This is a photo about steels during the construction site. So this is not so big building, but still it has like 8 meter long of the building. But because I used small boxes each, so the column, all of the column is just 100 times 100 millimeters, and then the beams are 100 times 150 millimeters, all of them, and which is not too heavy, so this constructor can manage to make it quite easily. And there was one funny things when during we are doing the schematic design. Once I asked to the structural engineer. For some reason, we had to make this cantilever a little bit bigger. And then I asked the structure engineer if we can do that or not. And I expected to, he says something like, you need one more column here or something. But he said, after a few seconds, he said, you need one more brace here, which is in a different side of the building. So he said that like that, this building is really one monocoque structure. So if something happened here, that's related to something here. So that's I thought that's strange, but I thought also quite interesting. And I don't explain so deeply, but there are so many reasons to decide the place of walls and shape of walls. For example, of course, the furniture should fit, and then we also think about daylight, and then also the place of windows from the ventilations, and always we studied back and forth. in very normal way, often we decide the outside of shape of the building, and then we start to think about the inside and how to divide. But this building has only surface, so when we try to make something, always relate to everything. So this is the montage. We made some models. So the place of walls or windows always moves, and then in the end becomes a little bit like you can see the shape of the final the building shape. So even I don't know why this wall stays here, because that's many reasons, and why I decided that the height of this floor here, it's difficult to explain because there are so many reasons, and then it moves by many times. So I thought the world we are living now is very diverse and very complicated. So I thought architecture also should be very diverse and complicated, fit to that conditions, and which is more neutral or natural way to stand, I feel. This is another view. So I think when the children, now they are like 2 years old, but when they grown up and then become like a junior high school student, they can change these parts for the private room. This is another view. Actually, this house has only 60 square meters the floor area on the ground, but because it's one just big room, so we can feel a little bit bigger than that. This is different, the view from different place. And in the end, I will show some projects which I'm doing now. The first one is weekend house in a very nice forest in close to Tokyo. This is many slides are very difficult to see, but so this site is the kind of the place for the weekend house. So they have a very nice, huge property, which is like 2,500 square meters big. And then we just planned like 150 square meters weekend house in this place. And we checked all the place of the existing trees and the size of these trees. And then we planned the building, which is in between these existing trees. So it's not necessary to take off in even one trees. And also the site is undulated, sloped like this, but this building is also followed this the shape of the land. So this weekend house, because the client wanted to enjoy this forest as much as possible, so I made a completely like this, completely transparent building. But of course, they need some privacy and some different places. So I made it really big and long. So these trees and or this the difference of height makes some different places in this small weekend house. And the next project is about this is also private house for only one person. He's like 50, middle 50s, and he doesn't have family, but he a kind of geek of architecture. He really likes about architecture. So he has a lot of collection of nice furnitures and also a lot of books. But he interested in only architecture, so he doesn't care about any other things. So he asked me to have a very small house with 50,000 euros something, which is very, very low budget. And then he was not sure if I can do, but he just asked, and then I said, if you are okay with a very, very small house, maybe there is a possibility. And then he said okay. So now I'm planning to make a very, very small house for him. So this is a plan. The site is 200 square meters, which is where he lives with his parents before. But now I made two different the buildings, 9 square meters each. This is 3 times 3, and this is 1.5 meter width and 6 meters long. Because this house is too small to live, so if I made just like a 15 or 18 square meters, one small building, easily his real life and his hobby becomes really mixed. And then I imagined some laundries in Corbusier sofa or something. So I decided to divide for the 2 buildings. So this is a real life with a toilet and bathroom, shower or something. And then this is kind of his hobby room with nice furniture and collection of books. It's okay. I just want to show a very small. And actually, his mother was his mother was already passed away, but his mother liked the trees and plants and things like that. So she left a lot of nice trees in the site. So I replaced it to in certain places, and then made even though these buildings are very, very small, but I wanted to make this the entire site nice way. And this is another project in the island of Japan. The location was very, very good. This is kind of internal sea in Japan. And the site is in the middle of field and nothing, and close to that sea, which I show. And they wanted to make the second house. They have their own house close to this place, but they wanted to make a vegetable field near here. So they tried to make a second house for that. And now I'm planning very transparent house, because this place is really beautiful, and then if there is no rain, I thought it's not necessary to make any buildings. They can enjoy this place. So I tried to make the buildings which is close to this outside feeling. And this is a little bit strange, but this is the plan. It's just made by one line. And then these lines divided some spaces. And this is a structure model. So in each part, the roof has a different height. So there are some the high side light, and sometimes has just canopies. So this place is covered with the roof, but still they have a lot of natural light inside, and then it's open to the outside. And this is a final slides, final project I want to show. This is also a private house for two young couples and their parents, so 2 generations house. Now I'm trying to make a completely empty, transparent box, because this father is now working as a carpenter, but he's like in middle 60s, so he's going to quit his job soon, I think. And also this young couple doesn't have kids yet, but they are going to have some kids soon. So I can imagine their life is going to be changed so quickly, and then I thought I cannot make a plan for them at this moment, because if I made any plans which fit to their life now, it's going to doesn't fit in the next 3-4 years. So I decided to make just an empty, transparent 2-story building like this. And actually, this is a very traditional style of Japanese house, nothing special. They have some layers in house. So this is the first layer as a facade, which is very transparent, and there is a second layer here. They can close when they feel cold or some privacy. And then they can open in the summer and the winter or spring with a nice weather. So they can adjust their house what they want. This is interior view. So this is really inside. When they feel really cold, they close this layer and this layer, and then they make some heating device here. So I did similar things. The outside of building is really transparent, but at the first I planned 2 bedrooms for young couple and then their parents, and then other parts are really open. So when they feel cold or when they sleep, they can go inside of this box. And then when they feel comfortable with the seasons, they can enjoy these surrounding parts. This is a model photo. And actually, the parents, this father is working as a carpenter, so this box doesn't relate to the main structure of this building, so it's free to change as much as he wants. So he can add, he can demolish, and he can modify the shape of these parts. So this is a section. It's very simple, just nothing inside as a main structure, but there are some places to stay. This is kind of image. So I can imagine after 3-4 years, they changed in some way, and it becomes even more live feeling, something like that. So these 4 projects are now just right before the construction phase. So I think next year or something I can show completed photos in some way. Thank you very much.